Good day, friends. Thank you tonight for joining us for the podcast, Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. It's good to be here with you again and glad you're visiting with us on this live broadcast. The platform includes question and answer, different types of discussion. We have a counseling continuum. And of course, you're able to connect with us to hear more about the podcast and the program. Our team includes Miss Lolita. She does our programming for us. Miss Tennille does our technical part of the broadcast. We have a litany of staff people that work with us. They help us to make this happen, and we thank God for them. So again, glad to be here tonight with you. And my name is Prince, licensed counselor, founder of Antioch Youth Center, retired. I want to thank our viewers for taking part each Thursday at 7 o'clock. The past couple weeks, we had 166 viewers from a week ago, and we're glad about that. And that was from YouTube only, and we're happy about that. Our technical director has expanded our outreach. We are heard and seen on now on different platforms, iHeart, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Pandoran Review, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Twitter. There's a new one called Podbean that I looked up last week. And of course, regular YouTube, audible.com, SoundCloud, Facebook, Podcast Addict, and there's one called Pod Dash. And we thank God for that expansion on this podcast we have here. Tonight, if you want to contact us, you can. That number is 1-866-538-3664. For counseling, Wounded Hearts, you can call. The number is 478-283-9093, 478-283-9093. We hope tonight that you will chime in with your questions or comments. You can go to YouTube and type in Church of God in Macon, Georgia. You'll see there the live banner there. But I want to be clear tonight, friends. The views and opinions don't always express the staff's idea on things, but we do want to reach out to implement three things: healing, reconciliation, and support in the Church of God. Be advised, some of the contact is sensitive and will listen discretion. Make no mistake, that's our focus, those three things: healing, forgiveness, reconciliation within the Church of God. So join us in being a minister of reconciliation. Well, tonight we've got a special guest, wonderful guy. I've known his family for, my 40 years, a little less, but Johnathan Burton, he's a PK son. We have a lot in common. Our fathers were both ministers, background Church of God, but he is a business owner. He has exclusive cabinet program there in California. And of course, he's, may know his family, Jill, excellent singer. In fact, I've got a 90-minute cassette that I still play outside meetings with them singing wonderful harmony. Exceptional singers. And so we just want to invite him tonight and pick his brain on some things. And he does different types of ministry also, too. He does the seminars, family seminars that are very, very exciting. So let's give Brother John a hand for being here tonight. Glad to have him here.
Thank you.
Brother John, if someone wants to call you to get more information about you, about your program, how can they contact you?
They can contact me at number one email at john.exclusivecabinets@gmail.com. That's my personal email. And then you can always reach me by phone at 951-961-9536. That's my direct line. Feel free to
Again, good to have you here tonight, my friend. We've been talking for the past couple of months or so, and it's just good to have you. All right, let's get to our questions tonight. Tell us about your background, Brother John. A little bit about yourself, if you would, please.
Well, like you'd mentioned, thanks again, Pastor Prince, Brother Prince, for having me on. I really appreciate this. Since I was a kid, like you said, pastor's kid, PK, and we don't realize as we get older, we don't realize how much the influence of our Father is placed on us until you get to a certain age and you start kind of working into your anointing or the pathway your Father put on you. But I've always had a love for people, and I got that from my mom and my dad. My mom and dad, they just always shared such a compassion for the people of God. They just always had this extreme love for them. And so as a result of that, I began to take on some of that just in my own spirit. And as I gave my heart to the Lord, he just put a sensitivity in my heart for people who were less fortunate, people who were wounded. I have a very sensitive heart for people who I see who've been pained in some way or another.
Well, John, any warm in the past you can remember as far as with the saints? Anything you can remember? Any warm that you met as a child? Any type of warm remembrances you had as a child?
Absolutely. I have such fond memories. We used to live in a little yellow house on Lexington Avenue in Springfield, Ohio. And that's where we met people like, I hope I can name names, but the Robinson family.
Yes.
Sister Juanita.
Fine family.
Oh, yeah. Sister Juanita and her husband. And the Robinson family, we were very close to. Our neighbors, Winnie Miller, next door neighbors. And I have such fond memories of them coming to our home. And we would have these get-togethers that we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the cast, I'm sure.
Sure.
But yeah, great memories. Childhood. I had a brother whose name was Brother Harmon. I never forget the time that he just showed up on a Saturday and he asked my dad, "I'd like to take your boys fishing."
Wow.
And, I just remember him taking us down to this water hole. Those were the relationships that to this day, I absolutely remember of the people of God who took the time to come out and do those special things for us, brother Bill, and I just can go on the Claibornes. I could just go on and on and on with people who impacted my life as a youngster. And then our Sunday school teacher, Sister Baker, I remember her, the blue hair, the really pretty blue hair. She's that blue hair. That's what I remember. But impactful people in my life. Yes.
When you when you bring back those memories, how does that make you feel on the inside?
Oh man, there's a sense of relief from all the vicissitudes of life that you're dealing with now,
yes.
And the weight and the worries and the stuff that you see on the news. And when you start talking about a Brother Harmon who would sit on that rock and toss out a fishing line, going down to the reservoir, and all the places that we did as kids coming up. And don't get it twisted. Once that's when we were little kids, and we start getting teenagers and we want to start making a life of our own. A lot of times we kind of strayed away from that, but the seed was already planted.
Right.
The seed was in there. And it was, even though a lot of us have gone astray for a short amount of time, we always found our way back because the roots were so deep from our parents and those relationships. And I believe that's what compels us to come back.
So, John, when saints separate, what are the emotional effects of that? When saints separate, what are the emotional effects of that?
Well, I remember the time when we were at a camp meeting, and I remember we were getting ready to leave, and I remember my dad had mentioned that we probably say goodbye to your friends because we probably won't see them. And we never did. You won't never see him again. And I was like, I just could not believe why. I just could not come up with any reason why we would never be able to go back to that camp meeting. And to this day, I remember my two friends that they were standing in the driveway, the gravel driveway. My dad had a station wagon. As we were pulling off, we're just, saying bye all the way till we got to the end of the driveway.
Wow.
Turned on that country road knowing that we'll probably never see him again. And that was very impactful. It was very sad. I remember my sisters crying because they knew that they would not be coming back to that church and didn't know why, didn't have a reason why. It was just like, you're too young to understand. And, hopefully God will reveal it to you. But right now, this is what has to be. And I have 14 brothers and sisters, as you guys know.
Wow.
And we were a very tight singing family. And that was one of the things that we looked forward to, because we had so many friends as a result of our singing. And to have that severed, I believe it really impacted my family. My brothers and sisters to this day are seriously wounded because of those things.
Let's talk more about that. Let's go back to when you were in that van and you began driving away. You didn't understand the issues, but you felt something as you drove away as a person. Tell me about how you felt driving away.
I just felt really, really sad, extremely sad. Just wondering how would I be able to reconnect to them? Would I ever run into them again? We didn't have the phone connections that we have now. You just pick up a cell phone.
True.
It's like if you did anything, you would have to either run into them or you'd have to drive back out there. When in some of those places, those camp meetings was way out in the Tules. You know what I'm talking about. They were way out in the middle of nowhere. and it's like, how are we going to reconnect? But thank God, you'll find out later in the podcast, thank God that there have been some ways that we've been able to reach out, and there are some reconnections after 40, 50 years. So they're coming around. Yeah.
Any questions from our director at this point? Any contributions or direction?
Not at the moment. No, sir.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, give you a minute to think about it while we take a station break briefly. But when saints separate, how does that affect their children? While he thinks about that, friends, this is the Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches podcast. I want you to remember, if you've been disenfranchised, if you've been hurt or wounded, we're here for you. We're not a church, but we want to be the modality to support you in that, to help you to heal, reconcile, and get forgiveness. If you have left God or backslidden or not where you used to be, tonight's the time to get back where you want to be spiritual. We've all been hurt in some situations, but God is able to bring you back even today. So come back to him. Men may wound you, but God will heal you.
Amen.
So back to our special guest tonight. So again, Brother John, what effects does this separation have on children? Is that long lasting? Does it go on generationally? How does that work since you've been through that process?
Well, I totally understand why God hates divorce. He hates splitting up, a family splitting up. He hates division in the family. He hates it. He knows the serious pain. I've been in contact with a couple of my dear church friends from when we were kids. We were very, very young at a church in Springfield. And I just in talking to them as we were approaching this event coming up on the 20th, realized that the wounds that they have are from decisions that were made by the parents.
Yes.
We have to just put it where it's at.
Right.
So for me, I'm 60 years old now. Some of these the friends that we have are, just a little younger than me, or maybe the same age as I am. One has been diagnosed with PTSD, church PTSD. If you could imagine an actual diagnosis of
I can.
church PTSD, where they're on medication and they're literally seeking medical help from the doctors to try to process what happened. Why? Most of us, the reason why it's so tormented to the young people is because we're saying, what did we do? What's wrong with me? What happened to me? We went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, sometimes all week revivals. We were there. So what? And we were taught the characteristics of Christ. What happened? And so now they're shaking their head saying, and this is where I believe the scripture says, if the righteous scarcely be saved, what chance does the wicked have? It's because if we are the template and we're supposed to be the template for the world, and they see this division, it's like, how is that possible? And so, yes, we have a couple, two members in one family who they don't want anything to do with the church. They don't want anything to do with the church at all.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Well, and so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
So I think that just because of that alone, that's where my heart really started being pulled to saying, Lord, what can we do? We see the problem. How can we fix it? And if you don't mind, I give you just a little quick analogy of,
if you would, please,
of a story that it didn't happen this way, but it's an analogy. You have two people walking on a path, and one person accidentally steps on the other person's ankle, and the person falls down. He grabs his ankle, and he's in pain. He's just really hurting. And you try to reach over and help him during the time of pain. The first thing they say is like, get away from me. I don't want you to touch me because I'm in pain. And you're asking them, are you okay? Are you good? They're just like, I don't want you to touch me. Just leave me alone. Well, in time, as their blood pressure kind of comes down from the pain and they're sitting there, you realize that there's something that you can do. You can run and go get ice. You can go get something to apply healing to that wound. Why? Because you're the one that wounded them. Mm-hmm. Even though it wasn't meant to happen. You didn't mean it.
Intentional.
It wasn't intentional, but it happened. And yes. What I see in this is the parents caused the wound. And a lot of us have to, I'm a parent. A lot of times when I wound my kids, I'm the one that has to go apply the ice. I'm the one that has to go minister to that healing. And I believe that if some of the parents are gone, I believe God has ways for other people to go in and minister it to it. But I think that's where our heart is right now, to minister that ice to the wounded folks.
Thank you. Any comments from or questions coming in?
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Brother John, you mentioned the word divorce, and ironically, I've been doing some work there's a psychologist here in town, background in counseling. I do, retired now, but I've been working with the family that goes through divorce in the family, connecting with the divorce separation in the church. The word divorce means to be separated, totally separated, to be disunified, or to be cut off. That's what the word divorce means. Mm-hmm. And it's ironic how children of divorced parents, we feel the same things when they're divorced in the church or people are separated. Just a couple of things. What happens when church separates from those friendships, from those who you love so much? Mm-hmm. There's a level of anger that people feel.
That's true.
Many go into anxiety issues, like you mentioned.
That's true.
Others have to choose a side. Mm-hmm. Who's right? Who's wrong?
That's true.
And others engage in risky behavior. And I know individuals that are going through this right now. They've decided to go into homosexuality.
That's right.
One or two just give up all Church of God altogether. Mm-hmm. And others go into sexual deviant because of this. Mm-hmm. I would not say because of it. Well, it happened and they were so hurt, they just went this other direction. And of course, it affects and diminishes worship. So it's going to take God and the Holy Ghost to move us through this. We discuss these things, friends, not to throw stones or bring up old issues, but to do better.
That's right.
To discuss it and to go forward in reconciliation, healing, and in forgiveness. So again, I quoted C. Stevens. She's an RN, CCRN, and a CPN. And also another young lady did those studies. And I'm working to do more about that, about the linkage between divorced families and divorced churches. In fact, you mentioned those who are in therapy. I know two young men. I was in a church separation when I was a child, and there's two guys that are just one is non-functional. He
Mhm.
can't work, no job, just
Mm.
stays at home. In fact, well, he killed himself, we think, about 6 months ago. The
Oh.
other one is a functioning schizophrenic, and
Mm.
he hears voices through the radio, et cetera, et cetera. So there is an element of trauma
Yeah,
when people separate. Is that true, Brother John?
absolutely. I mean, I'm not. I mean, you're far more qualified to clinically uh, diagnose that, but spiritually, as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and the things that the people that I've counseled in the ministry, um, it's not just going to take prayer alone. It takes people being willing to wrap their arms around people and say, you know what, I was there too. I
Mhm.
felt it. I know what it's like. Get them to talk. Get them to share their emotional feelings about it. They left me. When I was a kid, there's two things that happened. One, me, my brother David, and myself. When I was at Buxton Avenue, 5 years old, having all the kids my mom and dad had, I fell asleep under the church bench, and they went home. They went home. They were having dinner, and there I was locked in the church.
Oh,
Home.
wow.
I was there locked in the church, and they had a big window up front, and I couldn't get out. I was just like, help me out. And somebody happened to be walking past the church, and they said, there's a little kid in here. And they called my dad, pastor, and he's not too far along, and they came and got me. So even inside church, you can still feel abandoned. Inside the very place where you're supposed to feel warm and comforted and all the spiritual attributes of church. As a little kid, you could still feel lost inside the very place that was meant to help you.
Wow. 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 Okay, let's go back. And that's a true statement. Well, what can we do if you sense someone is feeling abandoned? What can we do to reach out to them?
I just think that we put down all the churchy stuff and be more friends.
Mhm,
A lot of times we want to clean the fish before we can even catch them.
mhm,
We want to make them better because we feel good when they're better.
mhm.
It's always it's harder to sit next to someone that doesn't look good or smell good, and you want to make sure that if I want you to be with me, I want you to look and smell good as me. And sometimes we have to roll up our sleeves and say, you know what, for the sake of Christ, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to be dirty with you. I'm going to be in the same position with you, and we're going to walk out this thing together.
John, we got about 3 minutes left, so you got to come back next week. But I
Okay.
do want to talk about two things in 3 minutes,
Okay.
at all possible. Which one do you want to discuss? The workshop or the exciting outreach in Ohio? Which one we want to do?
Well, we
What do you
have to
think?
do the siting outreach in Ohio,
Let's go.
because I think that this is the healing bomb that we're talking about.
All right.
Uh, the Burton get together. My mom used to have people over. That's what the Burtons did, and we would sing. We'd get around the piano and we would just sing and have a blast. Brother Prince was just mentioning all the harmonies and the
Yeah.
sound
Oh
that
yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
get
Yeah. 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 Oh
from
yeah.
the Burton family, and
Yeah.
I'm always glad to be a part of that. But on the 21st, 22nd of October, we're going to be in Springfield. The Burton family, the Burton kids, a lot of us are going to be there, and we're opening up a place. We're just going to sing, we're going to eat, we're going to have fun. We're just going
Wow.
to love on people. It's not a
Wow.
church affiliation. It's just a
Wow.
place for us to go back down memory lane. We're going to be honoring my mom. It's her birthday. That's going to be her birthday weekend. And so we're going to use this as a tribute to what she put in us as kids. And that's how we got through things. We sang. And when the things were toughest in our life, singing always seemed to get us through it. It was the best medicine for us.
Now, how can we contact you about those activities? We want to donate, send support, what should we do?
I believe Mr. Neal has the flyer, and there is an Evite on there. It has all the information on that Evite. There's hotel. It'll tell you where you could stay if you want to come in and join, because it is a 2-day event. We go in on Friday, and that's going to be our meet and greet. And then Saturday night, 21st, is going to be the actual the 22nd. The 22nd is going to be our actual event. That's going to be on in an evening, where we're going to have a potluck, and then we're just going to sing and walk down memory lane. It's going to be blessed.
Wow.
I hope you actually come, Brother
That
Prince.
sounds fun. I would love to. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we have a linkage. We have a linkage.
Correct.
We have a link.
Yes, sir. It's in our
Here's
description box in the YouTube channel, as well as on our Facebook page. Just click on that link in the description box, and it'll take you directly to that flyer that Brother Johnathan was speaking of.
So, Brother John, please come back next week if you can. We have more we want to talk about what you went through and how God brought you through.
Mm-hmm.
We went beyond time tonight, but friends, this is Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. And this is for Church of God, by Church of God, to let you know that if you're hurting, been disenfranchised, like John was, like all of us have been to some extent, there's hope for us. We can recover. We can, amen, get healed, reconciled, and get forgiveness, because there is a healing that must take place.
That's right.
Church separation is traumatic. I'm sure about that. From a counseling perspective, there's a trauma that goes with that, and that might last for years or decades. Mm-hmm. And so before we go, I met a fella about 10 years ago. I hadn't seen him in probably 50 or 60 years. And when we met, we talked 4 minutes, and that stuff came up again, how he got hurt. He's in his 80s now, but he was just fresh on his mind. Wow. He's been wounded all those years. So that's why we're here, to reach out to those who've been wounded, those who've been disenfranchised, let you know God is able to heal, reconcile, and forgive. May the Lord bless you. Thank you, Brother John, Sister Neal.
Thank you.
See you next week. May the Lord bless you.
Amen.